you can't have missed the fact that David Attenborough has celebrated his 100th birthday this week. So there are many programmes about Sir David. One of them is a BBC One documentary, also available on BBC iPlayer, called Making Life on Earth, Attenborough's Greatest Adventure. And here's a clip.
I have been lucky enough to have had a long career making natural history programmes, but there was one series that changed everything. I wanted to do a series which would tell the development of the history of life.
One of the most remarkable television series ever produced.
People just had not seen anything like this.
Wow. Making Life on Earth. I mean, Attenborough's Greatest Adventure. I'm so privileged to be talking about this one really today, because David Attenborough is just such an incredible person for so many different reasons. Not only because of what he's brought to us in the terms of footage, incredible footage, but also I think it's made wildlife and interest in wildlife and more accessible to more. I think children are more interested. He made programmes that people wanted to watch, took us to places that we'd never seen before, got footage that is just absolutely still utterly incredible. And here we are, looking back on his 100 years on Earth. And this is really lovely because they've sent other people out to go and get new footage. But essentially, what he's doing here is going through a lot of what he did and being the narrator to that. So it's really fascinating. It's a one-off show to mark his 100th birthday. And him and his colleagues, they all look back on the challenges they faced and overcame, because they got access to areas that we just could only have ever dreamt of, with animals that we never thought we'd ever really understand or get to know more about. And they managed to overcome so many of those issues and kind of tell, I suppose, the entire story of evolution on our planet. And in this, they share those memories, how they made the landmark series, and it's on BBC iPlayer, as you say. And there's one episode, I mean, the gorilla, I absolutely love gorillas. And he talks in this about how they've got a bit of a bad reputation for being kind of dangerous. And actually, they managed to get really close to the gorillas as a study of a group of mountain gorillas in Rwanda. And they basically acclimatized them to the presence of a human. And so the team were able to get very close to these apes, and it's just incredible. You just see a completely different side to them, because, as he says, they have been unfairly, in his opinion, portrayed as violent, and yet the result was this incredible encounter with a female and her offspring. It must have been incredibly nerve-wracking for them, and hearing them talk about through those things, because of course we see the end footage, we see the polished footage, don't we? We see the brilliance of what he does. There's going to be so much on Sir David Attenborough in the coming weeks, but this, absolutely, pop it in your diary, make sure you watch it, make sure you binge watch it, make sure you catch up on it, because it's part of history. What did you think, Ian?
This is such a good watch, and yeah, it actually starts with Attenborough. He thinks he's off camera. He's getting ready to be interviewed now. Well, I think it was maybe last year the interview was done. But he's just so funny and charming and full of life. Anyway, it was a fascinating look back at this groundbreaking natural history series. And of course, yes, it reminds us that at one point he was the controller of BBC Two, and he was sort of being lined up to be Director General of the Beeb. But yeah, he'd spent long enough behind a desk. He wanted to get back out there and do a real landmark series about wildlife, and that's what he did. And what an undertaking it was, as you hear from various people who worked on it. I mean, it was and the anecdotes are just, yeah, absolutely fascinating. And of course, yeah, you've got the classic encounter with the mountain gorillas, which still astonishes today. And yes, I mean, they talked to some of the people working in the production office, and of course, they had to organise all this. Logistically, it was so challenging because they were just relying on telephones and letters, and could be waiting weeks and weeks to hear back, and trying to sort of coordinate these crews and all this equipment and meeting local experts, and it all happening at the right time for whatever was happening with the wildlife. So yeah. It is, the series itself is available on the iPlayer, along with lots of other Attenborough series. And yes, let's raise a glass to one of our greatest broadcasters.